Well, good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you all for joining our February LEPC meeting. We have a wonderful meeting set up for everybody, so thank you for those who joined us virtually. Thank you for those who have joined us in person. We're having a little technical difficulty here in the room with the technology, so we're utilizing a call-in. So if you can hear us, let us know. I've got the transcriptions on the side, so hopefully everybody can be able to hear. When we have our speakers, they'll stand at the podium so those who are online will be able to hear the presentation. So again, my name is Daniel Hudson, Department of Emergency Management. With me, I've got Scott Mahone and Karen Lovely. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn it over to Scott, who will introduce our presenters.
Thanks, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have Senior Director Anthony Lloyd. He is with Operation Blessing. Just a few bites on Mr. Lloyd. He's a retired Coast Guard captain, formerly served as commanding officer for 3 units in the Coast Guard. He has done tours, including as a commanding officer, and assisted with Norfolk. He's worked with the National Maritime Center in Martinsburg, West Virginia, commanding officer of the Pacific Strike Team in, I'm not sure how to pronounce that city, Novato, California. Sorry for anybody out on the Pacific Coast. He has also served as the Coast Guard National Program Manager for Incident Management and Marine Environmental Response, with 30 years of leadership and operational experience working with complex disaster relief situations, interagency environments. He understands the need to build coalitions and their willingness to accomplish broad objectives and strategies. And that's why we work so well together, and he's really been a great leader with Operation Blessing. While in the Coast Guard, he led service efforts to align all marine environment response policies to the new National Response Framework. He's been serving as the Senior Director of Operation Blessing since 2018. He works closely with the national recognized 700 Club media producers to highlight volunteer efforts during major disasters and relief operations. I'd like to present Mr. Anthony Lloyd with Operation Blessing.
Okay. Thank you, Scott, Nan, and everyone. I hope that you can hear me online. I will try to speak up as much as I can. My tone of voice is kind of soft, so I have to speak from the heart, from the diagram. It's easy to speak from the heart when you have a mission that Operation Blessing has. But I do want to take some time to introduce some very special people that I've brought with me, because when we're done and you kind of interact, they're the ones that really do the work for me. So I do want to introduce them. I'll have them come up and introduce themselves. Hannah Slusher and Madison, who is one of our new recent hires. So I'd like for them to come up and introduce themselves. Hannah is our operations manager, and Madison is a new position we've created to work with communities like this.
Hi, I'm Hannah Slusher. I'm the operations manager, like Anthony said, for Operation Blessing. I've been with USDR since 2018 as well. So I've assisted with some of the hurricanes, like Hurricane Florence and Michael and Laura. So it's just a pleasure to be here, to be speaking with you guys. We work very closely. We're so grateful for the city of Norfolk, for Scott and for Daniel. We really love our relationship here. So we do a lot here, and then we do a lot domestically all over the United States. So you'll hear a little bit more about that later, but happy to be here. Thank you.
So I might add that left out, what the operation manager does. One of the earliest times we met was at the logistics warehouse over at Operation Blessing that they have in the city of Virginia Beach. And the warehouse and the organization that she does and the group she commands is very commendable.
Thank you.
She's also got more than one job. She's been working at her local church as a director of children affairs and getting them prepared in 2013. So besides working with Operation Blessing, she's staying busy. So, and I guess that's
Hello, everyone. I'm Madison, and I am the Interagency Partnership Coordinator here at Operation Blessing, and I've only been here for a couple months so far, but I'm just still getting my footing and working on maintaining relationships with all of our state and territory VOADs and just making sure that we maintain good standing and are up to date with all of our information and everything, and just hoping to take anything off Hannah's plate that I can to be of service. Thank you.
Really nice job. And I'm the one that puts all the stuff on Hannah's plate. So I tried to take ownership of some of those things. And Hannah was just like, here, let me get that for you, Anthony. I'll take care of that. And I tell the staff, I can solve problems, but my problems aren't as good as the way you solve problems. So help me out. And they do. As you can see, extremely talented group of folks, of which Hannah and Madison are representative of, and I was, reminded the LEPC committees. I am familiar with the regulatory foundation for LEPCs because it comes, if I'm not mistaken, out of the National Contingency Plan for Oil and Hazardous Material Response. And so the way it works, as I recall, in the maritime side, when there's, when you go into federal waters, Coast Guard is the lead federal agency. When you go on the other side of that line around the country, EPA is the lead federal agency. So I have a lot of experience working with the EPA at many levels, quite frankly. And so I know the state's involvement is critical. And so a robust LEPC is actually a really important part of making sure, you're ready. You don't have to go very far back. The new Palestine train derailment to find an example of where maybe that interaction could have been better. I'm not throwing a stone, but that's the point. So a risk-based community perspective on what is our risk is kind of what I think I recall from LEPCs. And I think we can play a role depending upon the scenario. We are not hazardous material responders. We are kind of first respond mindset, but we don't do the search and rescue phase at USDR. Our mission is to alleviate human suffering after natural disasters. That's in a nutshell. Our goal is to get in quickly in conjunction with the local officials and local emergency managers, and to try to target the need. And then inside that need, we're looking for this breakdown, right? We're looking for this list of folks, handicapped, single moms, uninsured, elderly, veterans. And that typically, the latest watchword from FEMA, if FEMA's in here, work closely with you as well, but is underserved communities. This is what underserved means to me personally, and to us at this point. It means the folks that are most likely have trouble recovering from a disaster, tornado, flood, hurricane. Those are even a transportation security incident or an incident that might affect the infrastructure like New Palestine. We sent 2 truckloads of water to that community. Kind of had to be real careful because of all the management challenge with the messaging, but we were able to get them to some local communities up there. So I'm going to admit person. All right. So we have actually a bigger footprint internationally than we do domestically. And they have, I think internationally, Operation Blessing's offices are well developed, and they operate on these 4 pillars that we're showing here: medical aid, hunger relief, clean water, and then of course disaster relief is one of the pillars. We're full-time disaster relief technicians in USDR. Internationally, their crew is pretty small, very, very talented, flexible, as you can imagine. And then they kind of collateral duty pull in doctors. They pull in some really talented people, media people, doctors, water engineers. And we've even worked with the water folks here domestically. So they really are, if you think about the scripture that talks about iron sharpening iron, they are really sharpened out in there because they have to be. They're working in austere environments, far apart from any logistical support like our warehouse here in Chesapeake, and they have to really have that mindset of flexibility, and then of course the pocket knife that can do 4 or 5 different things, like the old series MacGyver, which we all wish was in a rerun. I've got this here to kind of show the journey, the traumatic journey that a community goes through. I'm sure those you all in the room have been on this journey with your fellow citizens and in your own lives when something happens, right? It's kind of like this path. I guess I don't want to walk around too much, but you can see initially that's when all the first search and rescue phase, the security phase, the restoration phase for critical services, medical, whatever might be down, 911, that has to be addressed really quickly so everybody else can come in. And when that takes place, after a while, when the community sees a lot of the resources sort of start to leave, they go through an adjustment of like, well, when will the help come from me? And that's where we want to have a role in trying to help them, get the highs a little lower and get those lows a little higher, and be a partner with the support infrastructure in the community. And, we've done this over the past 5 years, Tennessee, Kentucky, Nebraska, Louisiana, Florida, here locally with you. So, it's we recognize that, what's going on in the community, and we want to be a help, a positive addition. We want to be seen as a resource. I think you guys do see us as a resource here locally. And so when we're doing our interaction, and I was down at Dare County, I know Drew down there, he's the emergency manager. They had a similar meeting. They had a nice, big, robust meeting. And I said, I want to tell them what our heart is. I want you to know what our heart is. And serving others is where we really, that's what, when you see us, you're like, well, why are you guys here? Well, we're looking for the opportunity to serve. But we want to work in partnership, because you got to have unity. When you may have heard this in your LEPC parlance, and I heard this a lot in my previous life. The goal when you have something happen is to build a multi-million-dollar Fortune 500 corporation overnight with partners that have never been in business together, right? Because think about it. Everybody here has an organizational slice, and you're going to put your resources, your people, most importantly, and your resources on the game board. And if you look at how much information, how much experience and talent and trucks and forklifts and people doing things, you instantly built this large, complex organization. So the goal for the emergency managers is, I need to make sure it works effectively and efficiently, and we want to work in partnership. We don't want to make that difficult for you. And we're action-oriented, right? We want to be seen as people that, once we get focused, problem solvers. Han and I talk about this all the time. We want to solve problems. Okay, let's just solve the problems that we're designed to solve. We can actually solve a lot of people's other problems, but that gets us, we lose our combat power when that happens. So we got to stay focused when we're action-oriented on the things that we do. So what are those things? I think we get to that here, but basically when we're in disaster, we're doing these things, and somewhere down on this list, you're going to see a punch list of items: tarps, water, meals, hot food when we set up our kitchen for our volunteers, our staff, and the community. If we can, get some volunteers in there to help. The one thing that I personally experienced, I know Hannah has too, is we've deployed our mobile kitchen in Norfolk many times over the years at a church event, a Blue Skies event. And, that helps us, kind of, it's like practice for us, but it helps the community experience. We get feedback on the food. We get a chance to we build those relationships, because that's one of the things that we are chartered to do when we're not in disaster, is to go out and build great relationships, which is why, Madison's role is so critical in monitoring the network, finding those higher priority issues to deal with, making sure we are giving good customer service to the local municipalities, the emergency managers, right, we want emergency managers to say, wow, the customer service Operation Blessing is just really good, you know. So what can you expect from us for what we seek to deliver? You know, we talked about the VOAD, the importance of the VOAD, and that's why, you know, I was pushed to kind of like, we got to have some additional talent to manage this, because it's the way of the world, right? You got to work with other folks. You got to know how to work with other folks. Who better than our young people here at Regent, where Madison goes to school? They're involved in certain degrees that, like, you can learn a lot of skills, but more importantly, you can bring a lot of your talent to the table for us, and get a chance for us to manage this relationship in a really impactful way. So that's why she is here. One day she'll be the rep here potentially, or, you know, wherever she can fit us into her busy schedule, because she's a full-time student. We want her to be able to experience managing the VOAD, the partnership relationships that we hope to do a better job at maintaining and fostering. I call this, for 2024, I call this instant on, right? How many times when you turn your computer on, you had to wait for the little thing, the little rabbit to do backflips till your screen came up? So we've tried to reduce the time that it takes for us to go down, get on the road. So we hope to be out the door safely, right? We're not going to do this, you know, helter-skelter. You know, on the way over, you know, we've changed our procedures. Now we do a full pre-trip on all our vehicles. So in Blue Skies, when you see an Operation Blessing truck, you know, you can be thinking about, well, they do a checklist so that the air pressure, you know, these are details that matter, but it helps our instant on capability with our trailers, our trucks, you know, the equipment that we have to respond to. Yeah, you can have questions along the way, because they're more tied to, you know, maybe the thought that comes up with the topic. So, and if you've got some online, you'll probably have to, you know.
I'll bring up one now for the group. You're ready in 24, 48 hours. How do you get that call? I mean, there's disasters all through the country. Who makes that call to you guys? And how do you get that process?
Okay, so Hannah is the key, right? So, you know, in Marvel, they say, you know, we have a Hulk, I have a Hannah, right? And so she's our Hulk. She kind of just, and we've plugged in some resources for her. You can have, you know, you've got your 911 desk, you've got your call center, and they're primarily reacting, I would think. Never have worked in a 911 center or call, but I think those are more reactive, but you want to be proactive. Yes, sir.
Where's your response as far as the first call?
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm taking too long to answer the first question. We also have a service that helps us. We call it early alert. So they're pulling free sources of data and feeding it to Hannah, and she's calling. So we're monitoring as much as we can monitor. And then if something happens, which is a great subsequent question, that's why the VOAD relationship is so important. When we're going down to wherever we want to respond to, Madison's probably going to be the first one to monitor the state to see if they've activated their VOAD. And if not, then maybe Madison will, what I would like to do is train her so that she goes, well, we have the name of the emergency manager in the county or the city. Maybe I can call them and say, they're getting calls. But a good EOC, volunteer management or a VOAD management cell, and that's where we would like to plug in. And that's where we would get information. At the beginning, that's preferable. Go ahead, Hannah.
We're not necessarily going to wait for
Okay. Hannah, if you're going to talk.
Yeah. So we do specialize in the management of SUVs as spontaneous volunteers. So essentially what's happening is we're monitoring all the time. We're always monitoring the weather. We're always monitoring for disasters. And then we're looking for a certain level of impact. And really what the impact we're looking for is residential impact, because that's who we're going to serve. So the tornado hit, and it was largely industry that was impacted and not a lot of residential damage. There may not be a lot that we can do there, so that might be something we set to the side. But if we see like a hurricane is coming in, we're not going to wait for the VOAD or for our church partner to ask us to come. We're going to go ahead and get out there. We're going to pre-stage at a safe location. And then as soon as the storm is passed, we're going to immediately start engaging our network. We're going to start working with, and our relief network does consist largely of churches, but it's trusted emergency managers that we've worked with in the past. It's police stations, it's fire stations. We've set up in a number of those places, and we're going to let them know we're here. Do you need us? Can we set up with you? And we're going to immediately start trying to take action in partnership, with emergency management as well, because especially with tornadoes and different things like that, oftentimes they're telling us like, hey, hang back. We're not ready for you guys to come in yet. Like, don't start impacting the community. We're still doing search and rescue. We're still doing this, but we're basically just putting the offer out there. We're here. We're getting ready to set up. This is what we can do for you. We can serve hot meals. Do you need truckloads? I have water. I have meal kits. I have cleanup buckets. So we're letting all of those resources be put on the table so that they know what we can do. But if we're not getting the request, we're being proactive with our network of relief partners, asking, can we go ahead and set up here as a base of operations and start coordinating volunteers so we can get into the community and start cleaning up? Does that help? Okay.
Yeah, so that answers the question of how we're monitoring and then how we kind of set up and plug in. And, Hannah, I think you did cover the fact that when we're monitoring the church network we have, that's our other, we have another person dedicated to the church network. So we kind of have this two channels of communication that are going on, and they're very coordinated. Okay, so let's talk about how we track the work. So we use what are called work orders. So the homeowner, once we kind of get into it, we're set up. If you just carry the scenario forward, a work order could be for, the EOC. If you say, hey, you guys have a skid steer where you could come and get me. I'm sure you got plenty of equipment at the DOT shop, but maybe there's, we can take that work order, but really it's primarily oriented towards the homeowner. And so we'll ask them to fill out all of their biographical data, and then they'll give us permission to enter the property, and we might tarp it, muck and gut it, just clean out a flooded home, or we'll do debris removal. And we seek to do all of those. And if we don't have the capacity, then we'll hire somebody to finish it if it's within scope. A lot of times things are out of scope for us and for the community. Like a good example would be a damaged mobile home that's like beyond repair. We won't come in and demolish that. That unfortunately is a very tough situation that is out of our scope, right? I'm not saying that we couldn't potentially hire somebody to do that. It just depends on how much resources we collect based on the storm. That's one example. We do look for long-term opportunities. So how that works would be like, let's say, for example, in our very loose scenario here, we have deployed, we have 100 work orders. We've completed all those work orders. We will screen those work orders if we have the resources to keep going. And let's say, there's 3 or 4 of them that are good long-term recovery possibilities, and we have the resources to match. So we might put drywall back into one. We might fix somebody's porch over here. We might have a roof. We might have somebody, get a roofer there. So long-term starts to build into like doing something a little bit more than just that initial response. And then finally, and Hannah talked about this, and you've seen this in our warehouse, we have disaster relief cleaning kits. Great partnership with the Home Depot Foundation every year. They provide us a grant. We make these kits, and then, Hannah knows this very well. We're looking for opportunities to share those. We do not want to hold on to them if there's a need somewhere, and invariably there is. We have plenty of water in various locations. We have 3 warehouses. I don't know if I have a map of our warehouses in this presentation, but there's one here in Virginia Beach, there's one in Bristol, Tennessee, and there's one in Grand Prairie, Texas. we're in a position of transitioning warehousing. There was one in Florida. The likelihood of us getting another one in Florida or the Panhandle of Florida is pretty high, but it's going to take us probably a year or two. In the meantime, Bristol's within a day's drive. We have really strong partners down there. So if we want to pre-stage stuff, we can. We have these volunteer events in our warehouse here. We've done these now for about a year and a half, where we package non-perishable foods into a box. The box is approximately, 2 by 1 by 3. It's 30 pounds, a little bit over 30 pounds. And there's non-perishable food in there for a family of 4, 3 meals a day for 3 days. And so that is how we distribute non-perishable goods. We don't do it in a unsorted pallet, with the exception of maybe we have some water or Gatorade. That's always good, initially, or to sustain, the nooks and crannies. But we just found it was more effective and easier on our church partners to deliver the meal kits. It's easier on you. Like if you need them, if we've got them and there's a need, Hannah tells me it's the points match, we're doing it. So it's more for the disaster phase, right? But there's scenarios where you just ask. If there's extended power outages, if there's a microstorm, if there's a freeze and it hit a community particularly hard, just let us know and we'll work something out if we have it. Any more questions on this one? So this is a good example. In January, we went to Dothan and Cottonwood, Alabama. It was a small rural town that was hit by a tornado, and it caused a lot of debris damage. It damaged some municipal buildings, knocked out a school for a few days. We made it there. There weren't that many disaster relief organizations like us. We talked to the emergency manager of the city, emergency coordinator, and they asked us, they wanted us to stick around. They gave us a space to set up, and we ended up doing, the following, where we had a small staff. I think we coordinated 30 volunteers, and we had 7 staff, and it was like 3 full-timers and 4 part-time staff, like Madison. They are part-time. We can call them, and they can go down and they can do a role. Like we have a logistics coordinator, a fleet maintenance. We have work order coordinators and volunteer coordinators. So they all rallied down there. And we did 27 work orders, which is nice, impacting. It's more than 100, but I just rounded it down. Maybe I think will this video work? It's supposed to be a YouTube video. If it doesn't, we can hold it until the end, or we can just move on. Okay, we can keep talking about it. Any more questions? Did I miss something, Hannah? We partner with the Hunger Strike Force. So you guys, we have a hunger relief. When you look at the 4 pillars, the hunger relief domestically is undergoing a change. Last week, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, I believe, or maybe the Federal Nutrition Service, sent out new nutrition guidelines for disaster relief kits. If you haven't seen that, I can send that over to you. David Edson is our new director of hunger relief, and he's working on changing our program, making it more focused to our partners and getting us better beneficiary counts, frankly, so that we have a better understanding of our impact and higher quality. That's one thing about our meal kits. The meal kits, we really took as close a look as we could at sodium, at sugar, at preservatives, to limit those. Everything is intended to be opened without electricity, and in the box, we wanted to have some recognizable products. So like if it might be a Harris Tea or a store brand, those are good. They're typically pretty good quality. We also have name brands like Stokely's or whatever, so that people could recognize, hey, this is stuff that I might see in the store, not just some knockoff that doesn't imply a quality product. As long as we can, it's tough these days to fit non-perishable food into the low sugar, low sodium, healthy amount of protein limit, that whole, it's really tough because it's just intended to last a long time. So
And I can attest to that because a friend of mine has a church over in Ward's Corner, and I don't know if you deliver them or they come get them, but there were bags that Operation Blessing on them, full bags, and they're this thick. Those are heavy bags, and they had brand name items in it. They even had Reese cups in it.
Yeah, that's our,
I mean, but you know, that's the kind of, the food that people are going to use. That's that they deliver to the members of their church.
I'm gonna have to talk to them about the Reese cups because they wanted to put some stuff in there like to get it out. But yeah, that's a local program and they have a little bit better feel for what they can put in there. That's our food freedom. And so the goal is to do that at the other warehouses as well. So that's, engages our volunteers, connects with the church that has like a pop-up need. And that's definitely Hunger Strike Force, Hunger Relief, and local programs.
So I'll throw this out because it goes to a question. But we've been lucky so far, but in the past, we've had, working with you, Operation Snow Buddies, where guys would have a truck, and the last time we set it up, it was in a parking lot of Lowe's. This was during a snowstorm, snow where we got hit with a lot of snow. We reached out to Operation Blessing and brought a truck and volunteers and all their equipment, and they recruited volunteers from the local area. And their work orders, we sent it out through Norfolk Alert and through our social media. Anybody that needed their driveway, cleaned up and stuff like that. So the volunteers came, gave on the job training. I don't think anybody had a Bobcat. There was a volunteer, maybe your staff had it, but they worked throughout the community. And even though they're stationed in Norfolk, the work orders came from Norfolk, Virginia, and Chesapeake. So they were there for several days filling out all these orders. And so that's a great way to recruit.
Yeah, we would hope to do that again. So I think we're past the snow.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, Hannah doesn't live in Buffalo or Ringtown where my son lives. They got a couple feet 2 weeks ago. So but yeah, that's a great example of we like to be flexible. We would absolutely be planning for that, even this winter, but next winter as well.
So the question was, how do you reach out to get all these volunteers?
Well, I'll let Hannah kind of address that, but we have a database of volunteers. Hannah actually used to have that job, and we would certainly send them an alert inside of our system. But if the emergency manager makes an announcement, and also we have a relationship with Volunteer Hampton Roads, so we go through the VOAD network, and we just announce if you've got volunteers and you can't employ them, and we're in the area, and what we do, and you think they can do it, then send them our way. And we'll group them up. We'll put them in teams. We'll make sure they're safety led, and then we'll try to get them out, into those locations. I think the snow scenario, I don't really know how it happened, but we have plenty of vehicles, and we would expect them to try to get there, and we can get there with equipment. So there's ways to, you just got to be flexible in how you get the equipment there, snow shovels, maybe a skid steer, and just sort of have them go through a neighborhood and just start attacking it if we can get there. If it's not in the way of the DOT, which you would know, or the state or the county Department of Transportation, who would, frontline site on something like that.
So is your preference if somebody did want to volunteer to sign up with Volunteer Hampton Roads, or do y'all have a way to sign up for Operation?
We would prefer them sign up with us. You can go to our webpage, www.ob.org, and sign up with them. The one thing about here specifically in Chesapeake is you will get notification of our volunteer events here, a meal kit opportunity, or any other things that we might do. Like we would call for volunteers. If we deploy the mobile kitchen at a community event with a church, we might need some volunteers to help run it. So we would ask for 10 volunteers to be in the kitchen, so ob.org, hit the volunteer, and, it's like anything, we'll keep you in the loop.
Did y'all have any disaster response with the tornado in Virginia Beach?
We did send out folks to look, and that brings up a good point. I was talking with Aline R., right? And she and I have a really nice relationship. I need to introduce Madison to her. I think between you guys and Virginia Beach, you're kind of like the front runners with us. Of course, obviously, we're very close neighbors. We sent some folks into those areas. They were neighborhoods that had, there were homeowners that had lots of insurance, and the police was there, I think at the request of the neighborhood HOA, to keep out folks. So we respected that. We did do an assessment. And then, interestingly enough, we were talking about how do we communicate? Like if you set up a volunteer coordination cell, let's just say, for example, what is that, ESF 17? If you set that up, that's essentially I see that as my front door into the EOC, where I might like ask for situational awareness. This is how I see it. Hannah's probably going to update this because I'm an old guy, but that's where you want to go in there and get situational awareness, and maybe there's things that we could do. We got volunteers that you need to get busy. What we set up, give them to us. Work orders, let me look at them. We can do 10 of these or whatever. That's how I think that's in my mind the preferred way. When the emergency manager calls, like you call Hannah, she's going to tell me you called, but the BOAD community likes to talk to each other to at least what's going on. So we like to respect that. And I think that was a little bit of a challenge there because Mercy Chefs went in, I think the way it was requested, and you don't have to request a nonprofit through BOAD. You can directly communicate it. But I think inside your EOC, make a front door. We all have like trusted relationships. Hey, can we get into that neighborhood? We would not want to do that. Our preference would be to go through your BOAD element if you set up. If you don't, if Scott's the guy, then you guys know each other. So that's something you want to pay attention to when you set up. If it's really robust, and you need cooking, you need Operation Blessing, Team Rubicon's here. Samaritan's Purse showed up. You got a hospital down. So try to map that out and have everybody come in through the front door, and then that way we can deconflict.
So this goal is actually both they manage or who does what, both ways.
Here's what I like to tell people about the BOAD. The BOAD is a movement of individual and unique movements. Each nonprofit has its own characteristics and personality. And the BOAD just tries to make sure everybody's talking to each other. And I think in large part it's successful. But the key in our mind is the emergency management approach is never the same in each locality. In Kentucky, where was it? I think in Pikeville, when there were floods, the judges were really involved because they were concerned about the contract for the dump. And I sat in the meeting in the EOC, and the judge, they had us, the Baptist, Team Rubicon, others in there. He's like, look, we got to be careful about where the debris goes because our contract with the dump is over in a year, and I'm in the middle of renegotiating that. And if you guys, we know you're going to put a lot of stuff on the street, but give us time because we got to redirect this to another dump. So just that's an internal working that we wouldn't be aware of, but they spoke openly of it, and it helped us to at least know there's some challenges. But it was the judge. It was the EOC folks were like, yeah, yes, Judge, you make sure and all that stuff. And then you go to that was Pikeville. You go down to Louisiana, it's clearly the EOC Director of Emergency Management. You go to another place, and it might be the fire chief, like maybe that was Dawson Spring. Parishes, the parish, we had I think a mix. Was it always the emergency manager, Hannah, for Laura and Ida? Yeah, it can be a mix. It's really yeah. They're struggling, or they're doing well. So we realize that because I don't see that as an opportunity to just go barreling in. I see that as an opportunity to help provide transparency and meet needs where they are and, you know, bring everybody along with us. Not like we're the, you know, all that in a bag of chips, but we have a lot of experience, so we want to share that and get everybody moving. We wouldn't necessarily come into the EOC and sit there and do that function for you. We could, we might, you know, just ask. We might have a talented volunteer or NRS could help out with that. But, you know, right now, that's not a primary offer.
Right. So for our emergency operations center, we would have a volunteer liaison inside of our unified command who would be able to oversee the volunteer operations throughout the city. So all of that would be coordinated through the unified command. And there's multiple localities around here in Hampton Roads, and all of them have a robust emergency management, whether it be a standalone department or within a fire department. So when you're getting up to those rural areas where unfortunately your emergency manager is your fire chief, or they have these other duties and emergency management's down here, but within the Hampton Roads area, all of the emergency management departments are pretty robust with at least 2 people within that department. So for us, it would be a volunteer liaison sitting in the room with us, being able to coordinate those efforts through our volunteer work.
Just a couple of other quick things. Mm-hmm. Just let us know who that person is, right? And then, like I lived in Suffolk, so I can, in my mind, and I've gone there for similar meetings, so we get how that changes. The last thing I would say, there is the Southeast Virginia VOAD that has been, it's been struggling, frankly. And so I have taken upon myself, and that's kind of where I hope our team will have a role in. And Aileen is really focused on that. And so I'll be talking to her about that, and to Vlad with Team Rubicon at the VIMS conference next month. How can we get a committee, to make nominations committee, get some more people into the board, get the board on an administrative cycle? Because a lot of this is just holding meetings, sticking to the agenda, updating the points of contact, right? Because things change, and then sharing that with Scott and Aileen and the fire chief in Suffolk, so they know, oh, I got the latest list of people. So we're going to be working on that the next few months, with a target of having a little better fidelity on that prior to hurricane season. And that's something that I'm trying to personally trying to fix. So
that's great. Have us included in some of those conversations.
Yeah.
And then down the road, if you have some type of information you'd like to pass along to our LEPC group, please let us know, and we can have you come back to our meeting with the VOAD hat on, and you can kind of discuss those operations too. So they can put in a plug for some support. Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you so much. Scott, do you have any further questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
You covered quite a bit. I think I could hit on, so Operation Blessing, our primary is definitely disaster relief, but for here locally, I think it's important to know like that you can tap into us outside of a disaster. I think the first time that I met Scott, we were actually sifting through, was it the Jonas Brothers blankets?
Oh, yeah.
We were heading into the cold time, and you know, he needed blankets for the homeless population here, and we had an overabundance of Jonas Brothers donated blankets, that we were happy to give to Scott. But
we went to all our shelters that we opened up, and we had them staffed. And when she said Jonas Brothers, there's big long like beach blanket kind of towels, all the plush ones that had the picture of the Jonas Brothers on it. So nice and pink. And
very loud.
So they kept you warm, but
there's some FEMA blankets too, but that's just one example of, you know, like, is that necessarily a disaster? No, but is that a way that we can be tapped into? Water, you know, in the summer, you know, it's not uncommon that he'll reach out and ask for water. But I think that just kind of highlights how important it is for organizations like us to have and maintain relationships with emergency management, so that we can be aware of any kind of need that we can potentially meet, because as Anthony mentioned, we want to serve. That's our main emphasis, is we want to be able to serve In 2019, pre-COVID, when there was lots of riots and protests, that was one of the initiatives that we took as well. We started creating pallets to support the police departments in the Hampton Roads area. So we loaded up things like snacks and water and sunscreen and bug spray, and because we knew that they're going to be outside, they were at the ocean front, they were in Hampton, they were here in Norfolk. So we just packed up the 550 and we reached out to all of the different branches in Hampton Roads and, do you guys need this? Is this a benefit? Would your officers benefit from it? And if the answer was yes, we loaded it up and we took it out to almost all 7 cities so that we could support our law enforcement, because that was a pretty challenging time. Another example is when COVID hit, we had, because of what we do, N95 masks is something that we have to use when we're mucking and gutting homes because of the mold. So we had an overabundance of cleaning supplies and N95 masks. And as you all know, in the beginning of COVID, that was in short supply. So that was something that we did. We started reaching out to all of the 7 cities, like, do you need this? Do you have it? And had people coming to the warehouse, law enforcement, EMTs, firefighters. We were providing everybody with the Home Depot buckets that was full of bleach and cleaning supplies and stuff, that like everything had come off the shelves, and then basically kind of branched that out to all of the different areas that we had warehousing. So the different parishes in Louisiana, in Florida, in Texas, we were reaching out to our emergency management partners, asking them, can we give you guys some N95 masks? Do you need them? So again, it's like organizations like, and we're just one of many, but being flexible to be able to meet needs that are not necessarily what you would consider a disaster, like a flood or a hurricane or a tornado. So that's just, something that I wanted to kind of highlight, that you can tap into organizations like us outside of a disaster. Like Andy said, just ask. If you've got a contact, call. If you need hot meals, we've reached out, Scott's reached out on things like that too, when you are sheltering the homeless population, where we've come out, we've brought the kitchen, or we've hired a food truck if we're deployed. Because 9 times out of 10, if it's during hurricane season, you might find us pretty gainfully employed and busy in other locations. But if it's something that we can help with, we're going to make every effort to be able to help with that. So, because this is our backyard, this is home base for us. So we really want to be able to meet needs in this community as much as we're able to, and as in an impactful way as we are able to. Does anybody have any questions on everything we've talked about? You guys are kind of quiet.
I'll say something. I'm from Medical Services, and I got a first-hand experience in working directly by going to your place and checking an individual. So it's amazing how well you do this. Getting close ready to the disaster. Very methodical that they have their way of doing it. It's very impressive. I will tell you this, what we're trying to do internally is try to help out volunteers. A lot of people just don't know. They can call in and be volunteers for make disasters happen. We already know what's happening, how big it's going to be. People you might need to have a thing. So sometimes we're calling, no, we have plenty of people. Other days, no, we need a lot of people. They just got enough. Knowing which you need. In our case, we have people with disabilities, and some of them can do just exactly what you do. Name to it. I don't know. Very impressive things, and being on contact and stuff. The other side of the coin is how you can tap into very high professional doctors anywhere around in the world.
Thank you. I mean, and that, to your point, that's something and that's really, to me, the VOAD is just, it's resource sharing. So oftentimes if we can't meet the need, then we're going to tap into a VOAD partner. So when you're kind of coming on those phone calls and everybody's throwing their cards out on the table, I've got buckets, who needs buckets? And, I've got kits, and it's like, hey, I have no kits, but I have a partner who needs kits. Can I connect the two of you? So it's if we can't meet the need, we want to find somebody that can meet the need of what you are, looking for or what you're needing to. And on that volunteer piece, we do a lot of, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities here local, because not everybody is necessarily ready to jump in the car and, go sleep on a sleeping bag in a hot, sweaty church all the time. But we do have opportunities to where you're packing our meal kits, to where you're loading up those buckets. And that is something that most people could do. So if you are interested in that, you can go to ob.org. And once you sign up as a volunteer, you'll start getting all of our notifications, whether it be there's an opportunity or letting you know, hey, we're watching this storm. We might be responding. If you are one that packs a bag, pack a bag, because we might need you. And just as a note on that, because I don't think we talked a lot about it, when we do call on volunteers to come and join us in the field, the only thing that you're required to do is have your own transportation. You have to be able to get yourself down there. But once you make it down, we provide your housing, we provide you with your food, we provide you with all the tools that you need. All you need to do is pack a bag and a sleeping bag and just show up, ready to work. Oh, yes, absolutely. All of our overnight volunteers, especially because most of the time we're partnering with churches, everybody does have to undergo a background check. So that is a non-negotiable on that. Yes, sir.
Do you have a program where you go to churches that are interested in participating in sports and people that go out and different churches, resources?
Absolutely. So one of our departments is actually the director of that is just that. He's the director of our strategic relationships, ministry relationships, and strategic partnerships. And what he does is basically he's constantly sourcing for new Relief Network partners, for new churches, and we have host, send, share, give. So I don't know if that's available on the website just yet, but if you want a contact, I can absolutely provide that point of contact to you before we leave today. Yeah, absolutely. So host, you can host us, meaning open up the doors to your church and let us take over for a little bit. And we always promise to leave it better than we found it. When we leave, send, you can send us your folks, you can send us your people, because we need hands on the ground. Absolutely. So now most of the time when we're distributing, though, we're working that through a church partner. We're not necessarily going to be overseeing that distribution. Pastor is going to call us and say, hey, I want to do a distribution tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Can you get 2 truckloads here? And this is what our community could use. We're going to pump in the truck and all of the supplies, and then they're going to take it and distribute it.
Best way to do is churches who say, hey, here's a template. Look at the character church, structure, parking lot, itself, and the church. Some churches don't want to do this. They might want to house on here.
Yeah.
Some churches might want to cook meals. Customer kitchen, I'll see you live that in Florence. They have that problem.
True.
So we aim to be flexible with the leverage, the strength of the church. We haven't done a very good job of covering the last mile of like, okay, they don't have a corporate of contact. We would typically help them find that, and then churches are very resourceful. They can come up with that stuff, but they haven't done it before. We're going to come up with a quick job. Maybe somebody walks through, put your comes here, looks like that's the best in, here's the best out. They have police or security, talk about that, so that we can cut that through like the, we're going to build out that. We've done this for years, so I think that's an area.
And in that vein of distribution, we're also reporting that back to the emergency management as well. so that they have a better understanding of the footprint of what's going on in their city or their county or their parish. They know where all the goods are going, and they can kind of course redirect if they need to. Like, hey, Norfolk got loaded down with water and food. They don't need anything, but man, you know, Portsmouth is dying. Y'all got to send some water and some food over there. So we work really closely with them anytime that we're doing distribution of goods.
You guys are willing to engage in discussion. There are a lot of ways emergency managers can create decisions, move the tool inside the ESP. You know, list your low ads, activated yes, no, street address, tick list, distribution, volunteers, top deals. So give yourself a matrix so you know what's going on, then just reiterate that. Okay, so those resources will come in our current state. They will come. It will be great. We go have at least you're trying to get that situation learned. So we want to be on the map. We want to be in the right place where the need is. So.
Yeah, so for a good example for that is our COVID response. During this, we operated through our Homeland Security Information Network board. It's our common operating picture for all of our Team Norfolk partners and for city staff to understand what the response is for the emergency management and other departments who are responding to that emergency. And to your point, one of the little pods on that board, anyone can access it through the website. We just provide you an access link to it, and then once you log in, we can add you as a guest. So one of those pods on there was resource requests from the community and what resources people might have to supply to the community. So that's a constant board that's being updated throughout the response, whether or not it's been deployed, where has it been deployed, who deployed it, who needs something else. And our local partners at Operation Blessing, Red Cross, they will have access to the board to be able to see those types of resource requests that are being asked by our community members or by an organization that's needing those resources. So it's a great opportunity just to have that function up there. So when you log in, you'll be able to see it. Is that Adobe Connect? That's Adobe Connect. So they call it, it's Adobe Connect, but it's through the Homeland Security Information Network. So when we have an activation, that is our common operating picture. And if you don't have the link, we will definitely provide it to you. And if we're operating an incident or even a pre-planned event such as Harborfest or Pride Fest or one of the races, we use that common operating picture to facilitate a unified command through that one response from everybody, just so everyone can log in at a quick glance, see what's happening. Because a lot of times we can't hold hundreds of people in our unified command, but that link can access, people can access hundreds at a time to see it. So, yep, great point, Anthony. Thank you so much.
Do you have a question?
I used to volunteer for the Red Cross staff for years. How do you fit this down as far as operation?
So Red Cross comes, I mean, we're not necessarily overlapping with them very much. Again, once we get into the field, we're really kind of looking to be where nobody else is, and not just for the sake of making sure that everybody is saturated. But Red Cross, we will absolutely, there's things that Red Cross does that we don't do, like certain kinds of individual assistance, housing assistance, like there's all kinds of really great things. So oftentimes we're looking to people like Red Cross or some of our other peers, trying to make sure that we have a really good understanding of what they're doing. So if we get a work order in or we get a request in that is something like that, like, hey, my house was totally demolished and I need rental assistance, that's not something I can help with. So we're looking for where Red Cross is set up or someone like them, and we're referring them that way and making sure that they're operating like, hey, are you guys here? Are you in this area? Can I send you some folks? So that would probably be the best case scenario I could see, is where we're referring folks to them, not necessarily working totally hand in hand outside of just being on the VOAD and sharing information.
Sometimes they will distribute meals, but they'll ask us, hey, you guys, did you distribute to the largely grocery shelves, full simplification, Baptist, we're there, we'll sell 5 or stuff.
That's great, and a great question. ironically, we're going to have Steve come up in a few minutes to talk about that as well. So he'll follow this presentation and kind of answer that question. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
One more. Three volunteers. I'm trying to get involved in everywhere I can, and looking at myself and Daniel. So if you would.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys for your time. I appreciate you.
I might add that those orange buckets that they prepared during COVID have little hearts that stay strong on the buckets, which was a positive message when you're coming out and taking some time. So, brought a smile to our face just seeing that there. So they did that for all the cities.
Yeah. And we can attest to the quickness that they reply, and not only in an incident, but also in blue sky days as well when we're planning for an incident. There's been many times when we've called upon you, and your team has just been promptly there providing us the resources we need, preparing for some type of an event. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you being in the back door here also, but also more importantly, being involved, actively involved in our emergency operations in the city of Norfolk. So we're a better place because of you guys. So thank you so much. Yeah, so round of applause one more time. All right. I don't see any questions in the chat. So if you do have a question, I've been trying to add the comments because I know it's been very hard for people to hear online because the microphone's up here. So I've tried to add some of the comments or questions that were asked in the audience. But for our next one, Steve, do you mind if I turn it over to you for a few minutes? I think that was a great segue from Operation Blessing to Red Cross, how the two organizations might cross sector or differ from disaster response. So with that, I'll turn it over to Steve from the Red Cross. And if you wouldn't mind, I know the microphone's right here so everyone can hear you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Hey, my name's Steve Bilski. I am a disaster program specialist with Red Cross. I was volunteer for about 5 years, and in the last couple of months, I actually had paid staff. So I'm part of the disaster action team. So with us, we're actually respond out with most of the fire departments. I work real good with Scott. I met Daniel once before one of the VDM things. So with the Red Cross, we'll go out usually if we have a fire or fatality or something like that. We go out for the hurricanes and all that stuff, but usually we work really close with our EMs, the fire department, on if we have any type of incident area. So with that being said, if we get a fire, we have our volunteers will go out or paid staff or whoever. A couple of things with Red Cross, and Scott knows because he's part of the Red Cross, he's one of our presenters, are a couple of our programs. And I definitely would like to meet up with Operation Blessing, any volunteers. I know everybody's probably heard of our sound alarm events, right? It's a national thing we have going on, which we have 5 events between now and July 1 that we're doing. Anywhere from Suffolk, Suffolk, Newport News, Norfolk, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach. So what we do when we come to the sound alarm events, we go to the areas that have a high risk. We have a map system we look at, and we have a high risk, so you got 60% fire risk. We'll sit there and we'll set up a event where we'll go out door to door and we'll install free smoke alarms, educate people. We have partnered with Southeastern Food Bank the last couple of events where they've actually come out and handed out food to the low-income families and stuff. So we're always looking for volunteers. We just got actually Team Rubicon. They work with us. They actually will be doing a couple events with us. When we're not doing the sound alarm events, we do have preparedness activities that we do from Pedro. That's number one thing. He'll go out and teach the kids about fire safety, pillowcase, be Red Cross ready. So we have other programs that we do, but with Red Cross, I mean, I've been doing this 5 years. I love it. I mean, we somewhat have the same mission that Operation Blessing has. So, I mean, this is good. This is actually, I'm going to be honest, this is my first time actually being to a VODAC meeting. Like I said, I've only been staff for a couple of months. So I was invited by our disaster program manager, and I'm like, dude, I'll give it a try. I'm interested to see what I have, and I've actually learned a lot about Operation Blessing tonight. So does anybody have any questions or anything? Even if y'all want to come out to our smoke alarm event, you're more than welcome to.
Services provided local shelter or
Yeah,
shelters?
yeah. Usually what we do is we will come in. We have like a 72-hour guide. And if I'm saying wrong, let me know, Scott. We have the 72-hour guide. So usually, like if a shelter opens up, we usually come in 72 hours after the shelter has opened. But if we get something that through the web EOC that y'all need supplies or something, that we'll sit there and work to get the supplies in. I mean, it's not always guaranteed. We first have to go to web EOC, and then we have to get the approval. But we'll come in and we'll provide snacks, water, especially if it's an evacuation shelter. And I mean, so we'll do that. And then 72 hours later, if it goes past 72 hours, then we'll bring a whole staff in, which will run the shelter. But usually we depend on EMs, so the DSS or somebody like that before we actually come knocking on the door. We have to have a request from web EOC.
Two questions.
Uh-huh.
First one is, yes, second one's a little more involved, but the first one is, so like us,
Mm-hmm.
if somebody wants to volunteer with Red Cross, they just go to the Red Cross homepage.
Yes, sir.
So that's fair. I can have volunteers volunteer with the movement they are for. Second thing is, we had Red Cross do a presentation on your program. I forget the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
They spent a lot of time and effort developing this program, but with Walmart, and it's basically a web EOC or a mapping program.
Our mapping system, we have like a mapping system called RC View that we have that does all our mappings and stuff.
Yeah.
It's also our national dispatch. So
That's more internal.
yeah.
Right.
So I mean, when it comes to volunteering, when we open up the doors to any of our sound alarm events, we'll knock. Like I said, Team Rubicon. They've done a couple of events with us, and I have direct contacts with them. So I reached out. I'm like, hey, would y'all be interested? Y'all probably know Cindy Murphy from Team Rubicon. She's done a couple of events. She went to Franklin last year. But yeah, I mean, if any of the sound alarm events, y'all are more than welcome to actually volunteer. Like Operation Blessing, you have a background check you have to go through, and then you also have training you have to do. Depends on what position you want. I mean, the Red Cross has 3 different areas you can do. I mean, like Scott, he does all our preparedness. I mean, he just called me the other day on Friday. He's like, hey, I need some books. I got a preparedness event to do. And I met with him. So, I mean, it's good, but I definitely would like to meet up with you guys and stuff.
So one of the first things I do when we decide we have a store or we're going to activate shelters, I call Human Services over there. Okay, right? I contact the Red Cross, and all our shelter facilities have already been Red Cross approved. They've already checked out our facilities and given us the sign off. Because without that facility being approved, then they can't actually just help out because they don't know our building. So we take care of that. They're blue skies.
Mm-hmm.
But the call I make is like, we're going to be opening up Norby High School. We're going to open up Campostella Elementary School. Can you supply us with mats, snacks, and blankets for 50 to 100 people coming in? So that's that pre-order where they'll bring their trucks, station them outside, and then as our staff inside the shelters, they'll come out and get those supplies and ready. So that's one of the services do.
Yeah, and when he's talking about what we have trailers staged. We have like 33 trailers. They're little 6x12 trailers that we have staged throughout the state. Here in coastal Virginia, we have 5 with 3 over in Hampton, and then we have 2 over here in Norfolk. They each have 50 cots, 100 blankets, medical supplies, wheelchairs, and all that stuff. So like Scott said, when they activate us, we'll sit there and we'll hook it to one of our tow vehicles. We'll tow it over to wherever they need it. We'll drop it, and then when they're done, we'll come back and get it. And then snacks, we'll sit there, and if we have to go out and get them, we'll go out and get them. We'll drop them off. So I mean, we have different processes. I mean, I work good with Scott. Like I said, I've met Daniel once, but I'm getting used to this. Okay, I appreciate it.
So just like Operation Wrestling, Red Cross, I tell you what, you know, it always amazes me that sadly when we do have house fires, Red Cross is right there assisting the families with providing some type of shelter and support and resources and needs. So it's just people first. Both organizations have that heart, that mindset of people first. And we appreciate all that you do for our community and for us. So thank you both for everything you do. So appreciate that. We wanted to have our volunteer organizations, Red Cross and Operation Blessing, kind of come in and provide us some information prior to, I know nobody wants to talk about this, but hurricane season. It's coming up. It's happening. But we wanted to kind of set the stage for what our volunteer organizations are doing in our community, how they're responding, and how they can assist in those type of disaster responses. So for our next meeting in May, we're going to have the hurricane season outlook from the National Weather Service. We're building upon that. So we're looking forward to have the National Weather Service come in and kind of discuss with us what they're seeing for the season, hopefully like the last two. But and then throughout the year, we're going to have our hazmat as we need for to sign up for our Tier 2 LEPC. So we'll have hazmat coming in one, and then the next one you've seen all of those new tunnels that are coming in and the new lanes that are on the highways. So we're going to have VDOT come in and talk to us as well about those types of initiatives that they have, and then also for some type of disaster response when dealing with some type of evacuation. So we'll have them coming in at the end of the year as well. So this is the part where we move into a roundtable discussion. So I posted the comment online. So if anyone online has any type of comment, any event that's coming up, please raise your hand. Let us know for your organizations if you have something significant that you want everybody to know about, or just some type of comment that you want to stay connected with everybody. Please do so. You can either raise your hand or put it in the comment field. And for in here as well, we'll report out first, but we won't call on everyone individually. If you have something, please let us know. We definitely like to be involved. And this is our opportunity to be connected with each other. It's always good to exchange business cards during blue skies days than it is when actual things are happening. So for our first one, I'll go ahead and let Scott step up because we've got some exciting tabletop exercises coming up, and he'll kind of explain those and if you want to be involved. So Scott.
So one of the first ones we have is with VDOT and transportation tabletop exercise in March. I think it's March 18th, where there will be an accident over at 564 in Terminal involving a military plane hitting the fence and affecting 564. So that involves the military, that involves VDOT, that involves any casualties we have with the city. So that should be an exciting tabletop that we're doing with them in March. Anybody wants to be a participant as, you know, listening in, coming to the meeting, coming to the tabletop, you can listen in and see how that would transpire. And in the back of your head, you'd be thinking, okay, what is my organization? What role would I have if this happened? You know, so that's why we're testing that. We have another one in May. I think it's the end of May with the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. There's going to be, this is a full-scale exercise, so not real, but I wish Steve with HRT was here. but we're going to involve a group of passengers on one of the ferries that leaving the Chesapeake area, go past the naval station in Portsmouth, where they'll be get a little plume cloud of radiation from one of the ships. And as they're in Norfolk, in between Norfolk and Portsmouth, that's when the alarm and sound will come out. So we'll be looking at how that's going to work out with the cities, with the Coast Guard, with the base and stuff. So a little radiation. If you want to be a partner, I can hook you up with Steve, and you could be on that boat and just be a participant and see how that works out. So that'll be an
Steve's here if you
exciting
need him. I'm here if you need me.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Do you want to add anything for the ferry? You still looking for volunteers?
No, I'm actually not the one looking for volunteers. That's being coordinated by the Navy because they will do the release kind of thing because it is their actual event. But you're correct; they are going to put volunteers on the vessel. Fear not; they are not going to douse you down with fire hoses. They decided that decontamination is not at this moment the venue that they're going to go to. They are going to stay with a simulation of a decontamination or not decon at all, because as you mentioned, it's a super low level of irradiation. They equivalent it to about traveling across the country by plane. If you're going East Coast to West Coast, West Coast to East Coast, it's about the same level of radiation. So yeah, but if you do want to play, I can get you in touch with the right parties. And the new date is now June the 13th is actual exercise day. It was modified.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's right after Harbor Fest, so we'll be ready to go at then. Thanks.
Roger that. Thank you.
And the last one I want to mention is with our partners with the Jewish Federation. Is that a specific name? So we're working with the Jewish Federation, not just locally, but regionally, and there's going to be a full-scale exercise. It's going to be an attack at one of the synagogues, and that's going to be in August. So that's going to be working with our partners with the church, security, police, fire. That's going to happen in Norfolk, in the Norfolk area. So these are all three different exercises, but you can see we're working with different partners throughout, and that helps build our program up, helps get our partnership out with folks. So we're really staying busy this next 6 months with that. Anything else? Go ahead, Dave.
That's good. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're really looking forward to these exercises coming up. Not only test our capabilities that we have in emergency management, but also test the capabilities of the first responders who are responding to those types of incidents. So if there's ever a point where you like to be involved in any of those, we'd love to have you to be able to see what the city is doing in response to those particular incidents. Please reach out to us, and we can definitely get you involved. I know we haven't got you involved in the synagogue one, but you will be involved in that because I know that your team is out on the street responding to some incidents. So we'll definitely reach out to you for that. So
yeah, we talked about it. So we get the invite.
Yeah. So before I move on, Steve, I see you on there. Do you want to talk about the exciting events of the new ferry while we have you?
The exciting event. We added two to our arsenal of ferries. So now we are the 32nd largest navy in the world, Semper Paratus. That's specifically for Anthony. But yeah, we added two new ferries, so that it'll show ferry number 7. But we were successful at auctioning one. It went over to Cape Charles. A lady purchased it over at Cape Charles, so I guess she's going to be running booze cruises or whatever she'll do. But we have 6 all together in service. Looks like an upcoming Norfolk Tides, Go Tides season coming. So we're excited about that. As Scott mentioned, full speed ahead on the Navy radiological exercise. And please plug us in on the 564, the synagogue. And obviously we're already in on the Navy exercise because maybe there's something that we can provide as a resource or a partner player that'll give you a little bit of a ability to do a core capability that you're trying to validate. So, but other than that, thanks everybody. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you. All right. So next, I'm excited to share that the National Weather Service, March 4th through the 8th, is the Severe Weather Awareness Week. This week is trying to get some information out on social media to get community members aware of what to do during an actual severe weather. such as thunderstorms, because spring, I meant the rain brings spring's flowers, right? So the thunderstorms, tornado response, and things like that. So every day of the week, there's going to be some social media push from the National Weather Service, the Virginia Department of Emergency Management, and the city of Norfolk, just to kind of get information out there to our community members to be weather aware. Like the first day is knowing the difference between a watch and a warning. Not a lot of people know what that difference is. I like to use the graphic of you have all the ingredients of a hamburger. You've got the buns, the lettuce, the mayonnaise, the ketchup, the buns, the burger itself, the cheese. That's your watching. All the ingredients are there ready to make your cheeseburger. So that's the watch. All your ingredients are there. The warning is you have a cheeseburger and you're getting ready to eat it. The tornado is upon us. It's imminent. So that's the two difference between the two. And those are kind of the social media push we'll put out. The city this year is partnering with the state again to do a tornado drill. It was going to be Tuesday, but that's Elections Day. So the state has moved it to Thursday. So it's going to be Thursday at 9:45. So if at 9:45 in the morning. So if your organization would like to participate, it's completely voluntary, but we're just asking to start that mindset with your employees. Where would they go in the event of an actual tornado? Where is your safe place inside of your business? Whether it be the lowest level of basement, a cellar, or even if you're in a high rise going all the way down the stairwell and congregating down at the lowest level. If not, getting into the most interior room of your building, getting down, covering your head and neck. And then also there's a social media push. So organizations like us, or the departments who are going to respond to it, are going to be taking photos of the employees actively involved in the drill. And then you can post those and tag Virginia Department of Emergency Management, City of Norfolk, and the National Weather Service. So you'll get to see all of the other people who are actively involved in the drill. It starts at 9:45. It's for as long as you would like it to be. 5-10 minutes. We don't want to impact your business there, but if you would like to participate, please do so. We can send you some information if you'd like. Yes, sir. It's March 7th, Thursday, March 7th at 9:45 in the morning. So for us, just like last year, you know that every month our department puts out the wireless emergency alert. If you have your test alerts enabled on your phone, and if you're in that zone that we do every month, you'll get that emergency alert. But for this year, for like we did last year for the tornado drill at 9:45, we're going to do the emergency alert for the entire city. It helps us be able to hone our skills in crafting an emergency alert, and then also it allows our community members to understand that's the way we're going to correspond with them in an actual emergency. So if you don't have emergency alerts enabled on your phone, you can go to your settings, notifications, and then go all the way down, and it will say test alerts. You can either enable it or disable it. It's like an Amber Alert, right? So it's the same system, it's the same tone, but you can actually toggle those test alerts on and off if you like to. But to receive the alert for 9:45, just to kind of signify the start of the event, have your emergency alerts turned on your phone. So any questions about that, just let us know. We're happy to provide that information to you, or the helpful links of understanding how to get your staff involved in the fire drill. So not seeing any comments in the chat room regarding any type of events coming up. Is there anybody in the room that has anything or any events that are coming up they'd like to discuss, or any type of information that they would like to discuss? Yes, sir.
On May 18th, we are actually partnering with Alpha Fire and Rescue to do a smoke alarm event here in the area. So if anyone's interested, you know, email. We'd like to have one here come out. Not too sure. Those are off the tide water, so I'm not too sure we're counting yet, but anybody interested in that?
It's over in Verizon Park.
Right, is that the area, Scott?
Yeah, so when you volunteer your team, in the first place. Well, Verizon Park area.
Yeah.
Stationary. Yeah. So you're always in teams of 3, and one person is the other person, another from the installer. So we actually take down the smoke detector if there's one there. and if it's not, then we install, up to 3.
We actually, they've actually changed that ordinance for us. I mean, if you say you have 4 bedrooms, you want to get at least 5 smoke alarms. You want to be 1 per bedroom, because, I mean, everybody knows that everybody sleeps with the door shut. So they're advising to put 1 inside of each of the active bedrooms, 1 in the common area, so we're not limited on the number of alarms that we have. Like I was saying, our teams are now actually consisting of 4, because we're having 1 person do our education, 1 person do our documentation, and then we usually have 2 firefighters that will do install. So they would actually be the ones going into the home to do the install. But if you have 13, we did Campostella a couple months ago with Chesapeake. That was actually pretty good turnout. I think we had close to about 100 volunteers. And it was a very small area, but we like to see big areas. We do. We just asked there's a parent permission slip we have to sign, and then there's like 14 to 13 to 15. They'll pretty much do stuff back at wherever station point is. Anything older, we'll be able to be with a team of at least 3 or 4.
All right, so what was the date on that again, sir?
It's
May 18th. So for those who might not have been able to hear online, the Red Cross is partnering with Norfolk Fire Rescue on May 18th to go in and do fire alarm installs. So if you would like to volunteer with that, reach out to the Red Cross. They do accept teenagers. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
And then if you have any questions or comments or any questions, reach out to the Red Cross. They'll be able to point you in the right direction. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate that. Anyone else have any events coming up that they'd like to discuss? Comments, concerns? Yes, sir.
The Red Cross is now partnering, and there's a Ready Rating program that's available. It's a customizable framework for business and organization, schools to assess their current emergency preparedness level, identify areas of improvement, and achieve greater success in those areas. The valuable resource center, which contains a wide variety of knowledge, all important experience topics, videos, white papers, tools, checklists, templates, and it can be used to help you improve your preparedness. It is a free program, and it is available by following the link at readyrating.org. Readyrating.org.
So did you say that was for schools or organizations as well?
Everyone.
Okay. All right. So the Red Cross chimed in saying there's a Ready Rating program that will help with emergency preparedness for the organizations or schools. And the website is readyrating.org. I put it in the chat. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate that. Yes, ma'am.
And it is around 5 p.m. That is open. And dinner is served there. Like that one is like a maximum. Then there's a post, so you get the email. Yes, we can still packing it.
All right. So Operation Blessing has a meal packing event. If you would like to volunteer, it's March 25th at 5 p.m. Dinner is served, so it sounds like they're going to feed you as well. So appreciate that. And if you have any questions, make sure to reach out to Operation Blessing. And if you'd like to volunteer for any one of these organizations, just reach out to Scott or Karen or myself, and we'll put you in contact with anybody who has spoken here with any comments. So anyone else online? Anyone else in the room? All right. Well, another successful meeting. So we appreciate you taking your time out to spend with us at our LEPC meeting. As always, if you need anything, please reach out to us. And thank you again to Operation Blessing and the Red Cross to be able to come in to discuss with us their disaster preparedness response plan. So thank you so much. With that, we'll go ahead and conclude the meeting, and we will see you at our next quarterly meeting in May for our hurricane outlook season. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.